Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Triple Gem, homage to Bada Bhanteji, and I pay homage to the Bhikkhu Sangha present here, respected Samanera, Anagarikas, nuns, and my dear Upasaka and Upasikas, and also Upasakas and Upasikas, those who have attended online. So today's discourse will be on what is the real treasure. We might think the real treasure as a car. No, that is not the real treasure. Maybe some lakhs of rupees. That is also not the real treasure. And some might even think the real treasure might be like real estates or some acres of land. People might think this as a real treasure, but these are not the real treasure. So, what is the real treasure? In the Nidhi Sutta, the Buddha beautifully told what is the real treasure. So before learning about it, we will learn the background story of how this sutta was delivered. According to the Kuddakapata commentary, during the Buddha's time, there was a very wealthy person from a very well-known background. He used to offer offerings to the Buddha every now and then, and he used to search for the opportunity to do such merits. So one time he invited the Buddha and his disciples to come to his home and take the offering lunch. At the same time, the king in which the Upasaka, the householder, was staying, the king at that time, he had urgent need of some money, some wealth. So the king sent one messenger, please go to so and so person, he will provide you some money, some wealth for me, and as he was also my past treasurer, so he must also have some money which I need. So by saying so, he sent the messenger to give to take the money from the householder. So at that time, he had the householder had already invited the Buddha for alms round, for lunch. So it was the lunch time. He was devotedly serving the Buddha and his disciples with his own hands. That time, the messenger which was sent by the king, he reached there, and then he went to the householder, and then he started telling what the king told him. Like, the king has called for you to send some wealth as the king need in very emergency. So the householder thought, if I attend to the messenger which was sent by the king, I will interrupt my offering which I am giving to the Buddha. So without saying anything, without thinking much, he said, please hold on, I will come to you later on. I will attend to your message later. So during that time, it was during that monarchy time. So at that time, no one can disobey or no one can decline the request from the king. The householder knew the consequences of declining the king's message. The consequences were like, he will be banished from the kingdom, or maybe his wealth will be acquired all by the king if the king wishes, or the king might even take his life. But without considering these consequences, without thinking about such, he started to offer the Buddha diligently and very devotedly. So he keep on giving the alms food, and then after finishing the food, and then the Buddha sat down on the seat. At that time, the householder requested the Buddha for Dhamma deliverance. And at the same time, the messenger, he was waiting for a long time. He went to the king and narrated that the householder did not attend to his request. So when the Buddha finished his alms, he sat down and then he started giving the discourse on the Nidhi Sutta, because that day two things happened. No, one is he was giving alms round to the Buddha, which means he is acquiring some merits, and also at the same time he is declining the request from the king, which can even lose his life. No, so that's why the Buddha thought this is the best moment, best time to give the Nidhi Sutta, the sutta based on the treasure, the real treasure. So the sutta starts like this. So whatever people make money, they make wealth for two things. One is for storing up, and another is to use it for the future purposes. So when they store the money or wealth, they store by seeing some circumstances, like protecting it from the king, protecting it from robbers, protecting it from bad people, and also protecting it from like calamities, like famine, floods, and all. So they store some in some place where they can later on come and they can take it. Right. So in this way, the people store the wealth. But storing up of this wealth is not always permanent, or it cannot be like give guarantee that whatever you are storing, it can be stored in a well structured way, or maybe well in a good way. So because when we store the treasure, the people store the when people store the treasures, even if they store very in a very good way, there are some ways the treasure can be taken away, or it can be destroyed. Like suppose during that time, during the Buddha's time, they used to store treasure beneath the ground, beneath the sand, mud. No, so they used to do some markings, like I have stored treasure in this certain point. So if the person forgets that marking, he will lose his wealth. So this is one way. And another way they will lose the wealth after hiding is during that time there used to be nagas, yakhas. They can also take it away, because when they store some wealth, they might store it some place which might be belong to the naga, or maybe the yakhas, demonic beings. So they might take it away, all the wealth they have stored. So the Buddha said, these are not the real way to store the wealth, and this is not the real treasure, firstly. And also the another way the people can lose wealth is, suppose they have earned the money, the wealth for their entire life, thinking in mind that after I become old, I will be able to get good care and good necessities. But what happens here is, suppose that person have bad sons and daughter. If they are not thought well to take care of their parents, they will eventually waste all the money earned by that certain person. So now also it happens like there are some childrens, they after growing up, they acquire all the wealth from their parents, and because they are lazy and they are not well taught, they take their parents and they put them in the old age home because they don't want to take the responsibility of their parents to take care of them. But the parents wish their entire life that like my son and my daughter, they will take care of me. That's why I have earned money so that they can live well, and with that they can also provide us. But for some parents, that is not even fulfilled. So these are the treasures which, when accumulated, we might think it is the real treasure, but that is not the real treasure because it can be taken away, it can be destroyed, it can be misused, or it can be lost. So the Buddha said, what is the real treasure? No? So the Buddha said, the real treasure is the spiritual merit. The merit that we do is the real treasure, is the real investment. So how can we do that? Right? So the Buddha in the Nidhi Sutta said, the spiritual merit is done by generosity, doing dana, sila, bhavana, and also when one helps the holy sangha, and when the people helps the elders, and when people look after their parents, they gain merit. So with that merit, they are accumulating the real treasure of spirituality. So when that is gained, that treasure is we do not need bank account, we do not need some protective place to store it. Once it is accumulated, that merits, it is there with us, and no one can take it, no one can destroy it, and no one can misuse the treasure of spiritual merit. So, but doing that things is not so, we can say not so easy, because we are indulged in doing lots of bad akusala kamma. So to divert our mind in doing kusala kamma is also an another challenge, like keeping yoniso manasikara, wise attention to do the right thing. So when we do the right thing, then only we accumulate the right wealth, the right spiritual merit. So the Buddha said, this is the real treasure that we must accumulate, so that it can help not only in this life but also in the next life. Our ultimate goal is like achieving the nibbana, enlightenment, in this very life. But if that is not possible in this life, at least we can gain the merit which can help us progress in the next life. So in this way, we must gain merit by doing good means. Suppose a person might ask a question like, if only the merit is like the real treasure, then how can we survive without money, without wealth? Then it is sure that merit is like merit. With the merit you can stay, but even though the money is required, that should be earned in a proper way. Samma ajiva. The Buddha said in the Eightfold Path that when we acquire merit, or acquire money, that should be done in a good manner, in such a good manner that it should not only be beneficial to you, but also beneficial for others. In such way, one can earn merit by doing earning wealth also. So in this way, one should use the wealth properly by uh, giving dana, by using it in a good place, not in the bad place, because we are in such a world that doing bad things is very easier than doing good things. So we must always keep in mind that whatever we are doing, it should be done in a good, proper way, so that we can accumulate merit, and then with that merit, it can help us not only in this life but also for the next life. And with that spiritual merit, whatever we are accumulating in this life, that is itself because of the spiritual merit, the vipaka from the past life, right? So that's why, keeping in this mind, we should always do good things which accumulates the spiritual merits. So the Buddha also said that with this spiritual merit, suppose whatever the person's complexion is, like they are beautiful, they are rich, or they are in getting what they need, all these are all because of the spiritual merit that they have accumulated. And also with that spiritual merit, the person who governs, who look after the people, the power they get, that is also through the accumulation of spiritual merits. So keeping in this mind, we should always think that when we do merit, it is not just for us, not just for oneself, it also for other also. So in this way, we should keep this in mind, that that accumulating merit not only helps me but also others. So this is the real treasure which one should accumulate in this life, because when one has accumulated this cannot be taken away, and this merit also cannot be destroyed. So, and this merit help us for the next life. Also, when a person attains like the spirituality, like the good life we are getting, these all are because of the spiritual merits. Suppose a person during the Buddha's time, the people get all the things necessary, and also the same people, after renouncing the world, becoming a monk, they achieve enlightenment, arahata. So that itself is also because of the spiritual merit that which they have accumulated in the past or also in the present life. So these are the benefits that one gets when one accumulate the merit. And the Buddha, the attainment of the enlightenment, the attainment of the Pachika Buddha, and also the attainment of the Samma Sambuddha, all are achieved only through the gain of the spiritual merit. So in the Balavagga of the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, Tancha kammang katang sadhu yang katva nanutapati yasa patito sumano vipakang patisevati. So meaning here is, well done is that action of doing which one repents not later, and the fruit of which one reaps with delight and happiness. So here it means, when one does good karma, they should do with a very good mind and without attachment. So when they do such action, such merit with such mind, they do not regret while giving, also after giving. And after they give, they accumulate the merit, which they enjoy it, which they get it later on. So regarding this, there is a small story known as Suana the Florist. So during the Buddha's time in the Rajagaha, in the kingdom of King Bimbisara, there was a florist, Sumana by name. He used to give jasmine flowers to the king every day, like offering the jasmine flowers. So every day, but one day while he was going to the palace of the king Bimbisara, Sumana the florist, he saw the Buddha going for alms round. So when he saw the Buddha, he was full of saddha, faith, that he wanted to give the flowers to the Buddha. But at the same time, he thought that today if I give the flowers to the Buddha, I might even lose my job. I might get banished from the kingdom, or I might get harm to my life. But he also thought, this is my chance of accumulating merit. So without thinking of what the king will do to him, he, with lots of faith, he offered that flower to the Buddha by throwing it up in the air, like some on the right side, some on the back side of the Buddha, and also some on the left side. So when he offered all the flowers, jasmine flowers, it became one canopy behind the Buddha. So after giving that flowers, he was very much happy and satisfied. So after that, he went to his home, and then he narrated this to his wife. Like, today, instead of giving the flowers to the king, I have offered it to the Buddha. So when he narrated this, his wife was very foolish. She thought that now the king will harm us, he will take away our properties and even banish us from the kingdom. So that foolish wife, he ran to the palace, and then she narrated it to the king. Like, today, dear king, I am so sorry because my husband has done a very foolish act by not giving you the flowers, but instead he gave it to the monk Gautama, the Buddha. So the king himself, the King Bimbisara was a Sotapanna. He knew that the Sumana the florist has done a very good and a very highly appreciable, like kamma, the accumulation of the spiritual merit. So he sent away the wife of the Sumana, and then the king himself went and saw the Buddha. And when he saw the Buddha has already that rays radiant coming from his body, but with that jasmine flower which the Sumana had offered, it was looking even more beautiful and radiating. So after seeing that, the king was also was with so much of faith, and he went to the Buddha, and then he requested to come and receive the offering. So when the Buddha came, the Buddha ate, accepted the lunch, ate the lunch, and then the Buddha went away to his Vihara monastery. So after the Buddha went, the king called for Sumana, and when Sumana came, he asked Sumana, how did you, instead of giving me the jasmine flowers, how in your mind, how did you offer to the Buddha? Then the Sumana narrated the incident that happened to him in the morning. So he said, whatever action the king might do to me, like taking away my job, taking away my properties, or even banishing me, or even killing me, but let that happen. But for today, I am going to give this offering to the Buddha. So with this mind, I had offered to the Buddha. So when the king heard this, he was very much happy, and then he appreciated Sumana for what he did. And as a token of appreciation, he gave him 8 elephants, 8 horse, 8 male servants, 8 female servants, and lots of treasures. So when the Buddha reached the Vihara, Venerable Ananda, the Buddha's personal attendant, asks the Buddha, what kind of karma and what kind of gain that Suana the Florist will get after giving such offering. Then the Buddha said to Venerable Ananda, Suana today offered me jasmine flowers without the consideration for his life. He knew that he might lose his life or his banishment from the kingdom. So without thinking about such consequences, he offered me the jasmine flower. So because of this accumulation, because of the accumulation of such spiritual merit, Suana the Florist will never be reborn in the 4 apaya. And he will be always be born in the human world or the divine world by the power of this spiritual merit done by the Sumana. So, and also he has accumulated so much that the Buddha said in the distant future, Sumana will also become a Pachika Buddha. So here the Buddha, after saying this, he entered his kuti, and then he narrated in the evening. He told this gatha that I have told earlier, that whatever actions we do with a good mind, and when we do, we should not regret, because if we regret, we will not be able to enjoy the merit, enjoy the happiness that we have done. So in this way, we should understand that the real treasure is not like accumulating lots of money in this life. We have seen like there are some celebrities who make collection of cars, like so much, like very expensive cars, like showing up, I have accumulated such treasures. But that is not the real treasure. That the treasure might be necessary for us, for sustaining, for giving dana, but that is not the ultimate treasure, not the real treasure. The real treasure here is the spiritual merit, which cannot be stolen away, which cannot be destroyed. Also, it cannot be misused by the bad sons and daughters. But the treasure which we accumulate, like the money, it can be easily taken away. It can easily be destroyed. So, thinking in this mind, we should always strive to do good karma, good action. So today, all the upasaka upasika have come here and accumulated lots of merit. This should be done until we can do, until the end of the life, because the more we do, it can be beneficial for our next life. Because when we die, we do not take the wealth, we do not take the car, we do not take the house, we cannot take anyone with us, but we can take what we have accumulated, the spiritual merit. So I would advise the upasaka upasika to do more and more kusala kamma, which conduce you for the achievement of spirituality, and ultimately with that spiritual merit, one can also attain the ultimate goal, nibbana. So with this, I would like to conclude the matter.